Here I am, the queen of controversy, trying to clear up another video that I just recently did entitled, Have You Legalized Your Adultery Yet? I got many comments on that, and most were appreciative. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've received any yet that weren't appreciative of that video. But I recently got someone that said, thank you for that. Can you clear up, though, what is the difference between fornication and adultery? Both are in the Bible. Both are considered sins against God. Both are mortal sins. And the quickest and easiest way to say that is that fornication is sex outside of marriage, and adultery is sex with a married person, even if you are the married person. It says in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, because why trust Christine Bacon? Catechism number 2353, which again, if you're a Protestant and you don't understand, the Catechism simply is a book that takes biblical teachings and numbers them and says, this is why we believe what we believe. And it always refers back to the Bible. So Catechism 2353 says, fornication is a carnal union between an unmarried man and an unmarried woman. It is gravely contrary to the dignity of persons and of human sexuality, which is naturally ordered to the good of the spouses and the generation and education of children. Moreover, it is a grave scandal when there is corruption of the young. So there are sins on top of this, but it talks about fornication. Nobody's married, but especially if you're fornicating with the young, which that will go more deeply into things like pedophilia and other sins of that nature. But God is saying, again, sex is reserved only between a married man and his married wife, the two of them. You can't have a marriage between two men or two women because that's not marriage, and that is a different sin. But adultery is similar, but not equally the same. And it says in Catechism 2380, adultery refers to marital infidelity, when two partners, of whom at least one is married to another party, have sexual relations, even transient ones, meaning once, they commit adultery. Christ condemns even adultery of mere desire. So if you desire to have sex with someone else's wife, you have committed adultery. The sixth commandment and the New Testament forbid adultery absolutely. The prophets denounce the gravity of adultery. They see it as an image of the sin of idolatry. And I'll just finish it up because the Catechism goes on to 2381, which says, adultery is an injustice. He who commits adultery fails in his commitment. He does injury to the sign of the covenant which the marriage bond is, transgresses the rights of the other spouse, and undermines the institution of marriage by breaking the contract on which it is based. He compromises the good of human generation and the welfare of children who need their parents' stable union. This one more easily connects to the video that I did, and that's why I wanted to double down on this. It's when it says here that adultery is an injustice, he who does injury to the sign of the covenant which the marriage bond ends transgresses the rights of the other person. So when you are in a fake second marriage, as I discussed in the legalized adultery video, this is what you are doing. You are, especially if you have children or the other person has children, those children, whether you want to admit it or not, desire for their mother and their father to be together. Oh, I've talked to kids and they've said, well, I could never see my mom and dad together. They're happy with the other person. And then I push them further. You could never see it. But if you knew that your mom and your dad could be together and could be happy and smile and laugh and have a good marriage, would you want them together? Would you want your mom with a different man, or would you want your dad with a different woman? And they're like, well, yeah, I guess if they can always be happy. That's when you challenge the child. Their innate desire is to be with mom and dad in the same household. But even if you don't have children, that second marriage, that fake marriage when the spouse is still alive, again, I call it a fake second marriage because if the spouse is still alive, you are still in a covenant with that person. You're breaking it. But more so, you're breaking God's heart. And worse, The punishments that come with this, check out my video that I just did. It should be uploaded today. I just did it with Father Robert Nixon, who is the man who compiled the book, translated from Latin to English, The Visions of Saint Francis of Rome, who got detailed descriptions of what happens to people in hell, heaven, and purgatory. And it was not good. And we go into those details of what happens to adulterers. And I ask you, is it worth it? Even if you are happily married to this second person who you're not legally married to, if there's a chance that I'm right, if there's a chance that the church is right, that you're married to your first spouse until the day you die, is it worth it? Is it worth taking that chance? This is temporary. Eternity is forever. So if you are living in a legalized or an unlegalized state of adultery, but if you're in that second so-called marriage, my challenge to you is this: stop sleeping with that person. Live as brother and sister. If you honestly insist you can't get back together with your first spouse, which many of you do, and let's just start at this point, to get the graces from God, sleep in separate bedrooms, make a decision to live as brother and sister, because you probably have children with this second so-called spouse, and we have to consider them. But you do not want to sin against God. And sure, you may want to have sex, and this may be difficult, but it is not as difficult as those heinous punishments described of what hell and or purgatory are for the sin of adultery. Every sin, as described by the saint and others in purgatory, it deals with the same body part that the sin did. The punishment deals with the sin. So I'm not even going to get into it here. I'll do another video after you see the one with me and Father Robert Nixon. It's heinous. If that is the body part you're using to sin, that's the body part that's being tortured additionally to all the other tortures that you receive in hell or purgatory. Look into this. Don't be cavalier. You're not looking at me. You'll never meet me, chances are. So let your pride go down and go, all right, I'm just going to go look into it privately. Privately go read, pray, beg God for clarity. Because I don't want you in hell, and neither does God. And the punishments in purgatory are pretty heinous as well. You don't want to suffer those for the lengthy period of time that you'll have to, even if you do choose heaven. Hope this helps. And before I end, even for those of you who are fornicating, meaning you're having sex outside of marriage, but it's still you're not married to that person, there are punishments for that equally grave in hell and purgatory. Save yourself. If you've already lost your virginity, if you've already had sex with many people, stop. Stop. Wait. Give yourself what we call a second virginity. There's no such thing, perhaps. You'll never be a virgin again, but the second virginity is the I will be pure and chaste from this day forward. I will not have sex with another person until my wedding day. And even if you're engaged, do not have sex like, oh, we're about to get married anyway. That is a sin. It's a mortal sin. It separates you from God. Save the fruit of marriage, the most beautiful and exciting act, for your wedding bed. If you have any questions, give me a call or email me. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. Thanks for watching another informational Bacon Bit. Go to my website, breakfastwithbacon.com. You can contact me there. And until then, and after then, and always, remember to live your life sunny side up.